Hello, I am Pushpendra Tyagi. I am working as an assistant professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering in IIMT College of Greater Noida. Now we will discuss on arc welding process. Arc welding. Arc welding is welding process that is used to join the metal to metal by using the electricity to create enough heat to melt metal, and the melted metals when cooled result in binding of metals. The metals after cooling is solidified. This is the region the metal binding with each other. It is the type of welding that use a welding power supply to create an electric arc between a metal stick electrode and the base material to melt and the metals at the point of contact. Basically, we use the AC and DC power supply in case of arc welding. AC means the alternative current and the DC means the direct current we can use in arc welding. We can also use the consumable electrode and non-consumable electrode in case of arc welding. The welding in case of arc welding, the welding area is usually protected by some type of shielding gas, maybe the inert gas, as like that helium and argon. Arc welding process may be the manual, semi-automatic, and fully automatic. First developed in the late part of 19th century, the arc welding became commercially important in shipbuilding during Second World War. Today, it remains an important process for the of fabrication of steel, and in many fabrication and manufacturing industries. This is in this slide. This is a three-dimensional picture of arc welding. You can see the how the arc welding can proceed. Now we will discuss the power supply in arc welding process. To supply the electrical energy necessary for arc welding process, a number of different power supplies can be used. The most common classification is constant current power supply and constant voltage power supply. There are two things here. We can use the constant current power supply and the constant voltage power supply in different scenarios. In arc welding process, the voltage is directly related to the length of the arc and the current is directly related to the amount of heat input. Constant current power supply are most often used for manual welding process, as like that the tungsten arc welding and the shielded metal arc welding, because they maintain a relatively constant current even as the voltage varies. This is important because in manual welding, it can be difficult to hold the electrode in a perfect steady state. The electrode can move, then the arc length cannot be the constant. Thus, this tend to fluctuate the voltage. Constant voltage power supply hold the voltage constant and vary the current. As a result, most often used for automatic welding process. As like that, the gas metal arc welding, flux core arc welding, and submerged arc welding process. In this process, the arc length is constant because the process is automatic. In any fluctuation in distance between the wire and the base material, this is quickly rectified by the large change in current. The arc welding process by using an electric arc to melt the metal. Basically, the utilization of arc to melt the metal. The arc is created by applying a voltage across two separated conductive electrodes. One electrode is one workpiece and another electrode is basically the electrode. We generally create a electrical path between the air gap of electrons. One conductive electrode is the base metal workpiece and other electrode is movable, either maybe the manually or automatically, which is also we have also called this is electrode. The electric arc basically pass between the air of two electrodes. There is the temperature approximately 3000 degrees centigrade here, which is very high temperature. With due to the heat, the metal to be welded pass its melting point, making a pool of molten metal at the termination of arc. The edges of two metals are melted, usually together with the filler material, form a consumable electrode, and they combine to form a single molten mixture. As the arcs move on, the melt pool cools and the metal hardens into a strong bed. The temperature in the electric arc welding is very high. It may be in the range of 3500 degrees centigrade to more than 20,000 degrees centigrade. Temperature range is very high. Basically, but it is focused on a very small area. The high temperature of the arc means that the melting point of the metal to be welded reach very quickly. The temperature of the weld pool, it can have the range in between the 2000 to 2500 degree centigrade. What are the difference between electrodes used in arc welding? Now we will discuss the different type of electrodes we will use in arc welding. First is that non-consumable electrode. Second is that consumable electrode. First is that non-consumable electrode. Non-consumable electrodes help to start and channel the welding arc, but they contribute no filler material to the weld and they are not used up during the welding process. In tungsten inert gas welding, for example, tungsten-based electrode is guided along the weld joint to complete the arc that melts the metal, but filler metal is needed to complete the weld. It must be fed into the joint as a separate wire with an appropriate chemical composition. Simple thing is that in non-consumable electrode, basically there is no consumption of electron. It is already in its name, non-consumable electrode. Now come to on consumable electrodes. Consumable electrodes, many arc welding electrodes are consumable, which means that they melt into the weld as the arc is created between the electrode and the workpiece. Some electrodes are bare. Bare means there is no coating of the electrodes. An example is continuously fed wire electrode for MIG is metal inert gas welding. Electrodes can be lightly coated with a thin layer of deoxidizing agent. The oxidizing agent may be the copper. This coating helps stabilize the arc that is created between the melting electrode and the workpiece. The heavier electrode coating may be used to provide a protective sheet of inert gas around the arc. Sheath means cover here. This not only helps improve arc stability but also helps to prevent the formation of oxide or nitride within the bed. Basically, the utilization of this coating is that to stability of arc, and it can also the prevent to the formation of oxide actually. Now, come to the types of arc welding. First is that shielded metal arc welding. It is called SMAW. Shielded metal arc welding is the most common and accessible type of arc welding. It means use of consumable handheld electrode or stick. This electrode is coated with a flux which melts at the tip of electrode and produces the shielding gas, as well as slag protect that protects the belt from oxidation during the welding. So this one is known as the shielded metal arc welding. Now we will discuss the flux cored arc welding. This one is similar to SMAW welding, but it is semi-automatic. The consumable electrode used contain flux and it is continuously fed in place of flux cored arc welding. Now come to the metal inert gas welding. This welding technique uses shielding gas to protect the molten metal from the atmosphere. The metal consumable electrode is machine fed. So there are three types of arc welding we have discussed in this particular slide. One is that shielded metal arc welding. Another is that flux core arc welding. One another is that metal inert gas welding. Now come to next, tungsten inert gas. This welding method used non-consumable electrode made of tungsten and therefore require a filler wire to be fed to make the bed. Shielding gas is necessary in case of tungsten inert gas bed. But in case of tungsten inert gas welding, electrode is not consumable. We generally use the filler material from the different aspect. We basically fed the filler material from the another source in case of tungsten inert gas. Now come to the next, submerged arc welding. The submerged arc welding, basically in this welding, the strategy is used with the automatic welding processes, where joint to be welded completely submerged in flux. The joint for which we are going, the joint is completely submerged in flux. Try to understand the things. The flux is conductive when molten and the weld is completed below this blanket of flux. Basically, in case of submerged arc welding, the welding process is completed below the blanket of flux. There is flux over the welding actually. So we have generally discussed the type of arc welding. Now we will discuss on that which arc welding process is known as the strongest arc welding process. Now, tungsten inert arc welding process generally accepted as producing the strongest arc weld because it generates a very high temperature and has a slow cooling rate. Means in this case, the temperature is very high and the rate of cooling is slow. This causes the excellent fusion between two pieces of material. Means the bond which is between two metals, the bond will be very strong. Reason is that if fusion is very excellent due to the slow cooling and the temperature is very high in this case. So it is not quite that simple as the strength of any weld depends on the number of external factors such as which type of welder is going for welding, what is the preparation of workpiece, which type of filler is generally used. So these are some things on which the strength of welding is also depend. It is also depend on the length and depth of the weld. Basically, we cannot say no single type of arc welding is strongest. We can basically the thing is that constantly stronger than all other type of arc welding. So here we cannot say if one welding is stronger rather than the other welding, and this one welding is stronger rather than this welding. But in overall scenario, the tungsten inert gas welding is generally known as the strongest. Now we will discuss the equipment needed for arc welding. Basically, the depend on the type of arc welding, different equipment is necessary. All arc welding processes require similar personal protective equipment to be worn, such as welding helmet, visor, a free retardant cap, welding gloves, leather overall or covering, and steel-toed safety boots. There are some equipment which are needed for arc welding. The safety is also necessary in case of welding, maybe the arc welding, maybe the other welding, but we must use the safety equipment if we are going to work in welding shop. This one is mandatory for every welding, not only for arc welding process. The most common type of arc welding, stick or shielded metal arc welding, SMAW, requires an electric welding machine, electric clamp, workpiece clamp, and other consumable electrode. So we can say that there are these are the some equipment which are necessary to do the welding actually. For MIG and TIG welding, additional equipment include the cylinder of shielding gas such as argon and carbon dioxide. For TIG means tungsten inert gas welding, the electrodes are non-consumable, so filler wire is also required. We can also add something here. When we are going for the arc welding, maybe the process may be the different in different welding. Hence, there are lots of equipment we generally use in arc welding. Some equipment related to the welding and the some equipment is generally related to the safety. When we are working in the welding shop, then we have to take into the consideration of every equipment actually. This is the arc welding equipment. This one is the line diagram which are generally shown in figure. Welding machine, AC or DC power supply, and then work cable. Work cable is connected to work. There is arc, electrode, and electrode. This is the simple line diagram of arc welding from which you can understand how to proceed the arc welding actually. How hard is arc welding? Now we will discuss on that. How hard is arc Manual arc welding that produces the strong, aesthetically pleasing welds required skills. However, it is fairly easy to learn basic arc weld. Certain materials such as stainless steel are more challenging to weld than arc weld. Also, the weld joint geometry can add to the difficulty. A circular butt weld which require a portion to be welded underneath a pipe, for example, require a high level skill. So basically, overall meaning of this particular paragraph is that basically when we are going for arc welding, then we have to be skilled. When we are skilled, then we are fair in welding it. How does arc welding differ from other welding process? Basically, in this paragraph, we will focus how the arc welding differ from other welding process. Arc welding differ from the other welding process in a mechanism for heating and melting the metal to be welded. Basically, we will focus on the mechanism of heating. In arc welding, the electric arc used to generate the high temperature. In other fusion welding process, as like that the oxyacetylene and laser welding, with the gas welding, the combustion of an oxyacetylene mixture provides the heat to melt the metal. And in laser welding, focused optical energy used to form the melt. So the main difference is that basically from which source you are providing the heat to the welding actually. So this basically creates the difference of arc welding from the other welding process. Is arc welding stronger than gas welding? Yes. Arc welding generally produces stronger weld than gas welding. The primary reason is that in electric arc, the temperature range is very. It is approximately 6,000 degrees centigrade, wherein oxyacetylene welding, it is approximately 3,600 degrees centigrade. The higher temperatures generated by the electric arc means that it takes less time to melt parent material and therefore to complete the weld. Due to this, the HAZ means heat affected zone area is reduced. Then there is less distortion to the parent. The heat affected zone around a weld impact its durability and limits to its longevity. So generally smaller HAZ will result in stronger weld. This is the reason we can say that the arc welding is stronger than gas. Advantage of arc. Now we will discuss on the advantage of arc. Arc welding can use relatively simple and portable equipment, making it suitable for use in the field. Means the equipment can be portable. in case of arc. The arc welding is more versatile than approaches such as laser welding. It can be applied to many different metals with different properties, including those that are highly reflective. Arc welding can accommodate precise fitment of component to be welded and is generally tolerant of non-ideal conditions. This is an advantage over techniques such as laser welding. Considering stick welding specifically as an entry point, arc welding is accessible. The equipment is relatively cheap and it is possible for most people to learn. This is in contrast to some welding techniques like laser welding that require highly specialized disadvantage of arc. Arc welding requires a skilled welder, particularly if the weld is to withstand significant load or meet aesthetic criteria. In this criteria, we need generally skilled welders. Due to arc welding, high heat input to base metal, there are risk of warping. Within the heat affected zone, changing the metal microstructure can reduce the strength and corrosion resistance of weld. These are some disadvantages of arc welding. Arc welding is not capable of welding thin sheet of metal. Generally, anything thinner than 2 millimeter is very difficult. The arc tends to melt the edges of thin sheet away. Arc welding, unlike the laser welding, is limited to welding metals and cannot be used to weld the plastic sector. From variation of arc welding that require flux, there is usually some generation of fumes which require safe ventilation. So these are some disadvantages of arc welding. Now we will discuss in application of arc welding. Arc welding is used to join and repair metal components which find its application in multiple industries. We can generally use the arc welding in different sectors. Some examples of sectors that rely heavily on joint metal parts include as like that automotive sector, manufacturing sector, industrial piping, shipbuilding, and structural steel erection. We can generally use the arc welding in these sectors. So now, quickly, this was the last application of arc welding. Okay, thanks a lot.